1, full course yellow is deployed. Full course yellow is deployed.
Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Full Course Yellow. We're in Pit Lane's regular weekly get-together where we talk all things motorsport live here on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel and indeed on the Facebook page as well. If you are joining us live at the moment, hello to you. Thanks for coming along. We've got plenty to talk about. We've got all of the wrap up from Adelaide on the weekend. We've got MotoGP to talk about, Macau Grand Prix. Wow, what a crazy event that was. Both the Grand Prix itself and the GT. The bike Grand Prix actually didn't happen as such. Such were the conditions. Just torrential rain for a couple of days, but lots of very Macau things happened. If you've been there and seen it in action, you would understand perhaps better some of the things that went on there. But, of course, Formula One is back on the weekend. Finally, we've got Formula One just around the corner, the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Yuki Tsunoda nearly didn't get in. I mean, Trump's not even in yet, and, Asians are having trouble getting through customs. But he is in now, apparently. Someone has vouched for him and says, no, he's all right. That one's all right. Don't worry about it. So Yuki Tsunoda will be racing on the weekend. But Adelaide on the weekend was huge. Very good. It's going to be a tight show. It's going to be a quick show tonight because joining us tonight on the panel, well, it's a panel of one. It's our floor manager and Formula One tragic, the one and only Peter Johnson. Pete, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you, Brett?
Yeah, good, thanks. I mean, well, let's start with Adelaide first of all. I mean, I was flipping between Adelaide and Macau over the weekend, and it was it was certainly some good racing there. Richard Outram last week, who was up at Challenge Bathurst right now with his Hyundai, sort of said last week rather cryptically, hey, get a good spot at turn 8 and watch all the chaos. Well, he wasn't wrong. There was plenty of chaos, and I've obviously raised some concerns from a lot of people now, and it seems to be the opinion is split right now between people who are saying, look, obviously that corner desperately needs to be changed, and then there are others, including Brad Jones, who's had experience on that corner himself years ago, basically saying, no, it's just really up to the drivers to learn how to take it properly. So, what did you think over the weekend? Because there were some big hits there.
There were some big hits there, but interestingly, they were in practice and qualifying and not in the race. Both Bathurst and Adelaide have been relatively clean races. There were some spins, but they kept things going. So I think it was just in practice and qualifying, people testing the limits. And it maybe the guardrail does need to be shifted a bit, just in terms of safety. But I think Brad Jones. I'm leading on the side of Brad Jones. Really, just learn to take that corner.
Yeah, it seems safely to be as you say, it seems to be that inside curb that is sort of unbalancing people. But then, of course, the idea is, well, don't go on. It's the old gag, doctor, it hurts when I do this. Well, don't do that. If that's the problem, if people are are hitting the wall because they're hitting that inside curb a bit hard and getting unbalanced, then the idea would be try and stay off the curb. But I'm sure that Motorsport Australia, Supercars, and the South Australian Motorsport Events Board will be sort of having a close look at the design for next year. I hope they don't do anything really stupid and change, because it's a spectacular corner. I mean, whether regardless of whether anybody crashes there or not, it's a spectacular corner to watch. It's a great challenge for the drivers. And that's part of the deal. I mean, as somebody used to say rather irresponsibly many years ago, motor racing is dangerous. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah. Well, that's a Trivial Pursuit question. What are the first 3 words on the back of a motorsport ticket? Motor racing is dangerous. But also, when you going through there, if on the other circuits where there's runoff areas, the Kingdom Come to the next postcode, they take advantage of it. So what do
Yeah,
you
I think
do?
I think that's the problem. I mean, sort of, like a lot of the older drivers will say, well, like, so people are saying, oh, well, there should be more runoff areas. I mean, there wasn't much in the way of runoff areas at Amaroo, and there wasn't much at Oran Park, and there certainly wasn't much at Calder, and there's still not much at Sandown. There's more than there used to be, but nonetheless, yeah, I mean, that is part of the deal, and thankfully no one was seriously hurt. That was, I mean, there were plenty of headlines, supercar driver's miracle escape, but I think it was, I think it might have been actually Frosty, Mark Winterbottom, put on there and said, look, there's nothing miracle. No, it was Mark Larkham who said, but look, hey, listen, to the mainstream media, there's nothing miracle about it. I mean, it's good engineering and it's good regulations and good design and good construction and good safety in place that has kept at that. But as I said, I'm sure they will look at it, but I hope they don't mess it up too much because it's a great challenge.
It's already been sanitised once, I think, in the past, and in Formula One, like they have runoff areas on a lot of the Herman Tilke design circuits where you can run off with no curb or anything, and they cry about track limits. That's because there's nothing like the ARB code or anything like that,
Yeah, that's it. G'day, Mark. Mark is doing the late shift tonight at work, so he was planning to get home, but obviously he's been caught with extra work. So g'day, Mark. So hopefully we'll catch up with Mark next week on the program as well. But Mark's listening to the moment. Box is joining us once again. G'day, Box. Good to see you there. Also, David Howard is joining us as well, as is Jared Crabb, who is saying change the apex and wall gap. Pinball cars Gen 3 can't take big hits. That does seem to be a problem with the Gen 3, although they are made for that reason. That's one of the reasons they are safer. I mean, this is what someone was saying, well, they're not. Someone said, oh, well, see, like with an NASCAR, and I think, once again, I think it was Brad Jones who said, look, have a look. We could have, if he'd have been cleared to race, we could have fixed it.
Built.
Yeah, we could have fixed
that car.
Already
fixing it.
Yeah. And they said, that's what they're built for. They're built basically to totally fall apart, protect the main structure, and it's just a matter of sort of bolting off the front and bolting off the back or whatever bit's damaged, and refitting everything again. So I mean, we saw Dave Reynolds and other cars that crashed over the weekend, all put back together in at least overnight. Still big jobs, but certainly doable, and I mean a big whack at the front or at the back isn't the end of the world compared with some of the older cars. So I think they're made sort of to crash in a way and to fall apart on impact to dissipate the energy, but I think the problem at the moment is the money involved. We saw the news today, I think it was, that said that the crankshaft debacle for Bathurst for the Fords cost over $1 million to fix up. So so much for the Gen 3 engines are going to be so much cheaper. Everything's going to be so much more affordable, and suddenly they're spending like $1 million to bring over a whole bunch of GT3 spec crankshafts all of a sudden, which they had to sort of I'm not sure whether they did any sort of change in sort of what legislative, if we call it, changes were made to get those crankshafts in all of a sudden, because we know how tightly, homologated everything is. But I think it was a case of, if we don't let those crankshafts in, we're not going to have any Mustangs at all on the grid at Bathurst, and that's not going to go down well. So with Ford, so Jared is saying that he thought the Gen 2 handled the barriers, the bundles better, or the barriers as well, I suppose. What do you think there? Because we saw some big crashes in Gen 2 as well, and yes, some.
Well, we saw some rollovers in Gen 2, I think.
Yeah, well, I think it was actually Gen 1 with Brad Jones went over first of all, and then sort of the next year, I think he was famous for putting the advertising on the floor of the car, so that if he went over again, people would he'd at least get some. His sponsors would, which was Aussie Mail at the time, which was and if everyone forgets Aussie Mail, and it's easy to forget, it was actually an online service that was created by one. Jay Packer and M. Turnbull, and it was an absolute unmitigated disaster. So that was, two of the great minds at work.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old Brewer and more and big. Yeah, Mika Hakkinen. That was where Mika Hakkinen had his big crash, wasn't it? And he was very, very lucky to survive that. He was very fortunate, and even to this day, he was still sort of. A couple of times when he's come over here, he's always gone to Adelaide and visited the neurosurgeon who he credits with saving his life.
Yep.
Yeah, so, Mark Scaife destroyed, yes, the Nissan. That was another big one as well. And actually, it was Adelaide. It was the Adelaide track that basically convinced Mark Scaife to retire, because I went to Mark Scaife's retirement announcement. And that was the thing he said at the press conference. He said he went around Adelaide. He said he was racing at Adelaide, and he said there were just times when he said I just didn't go in as hard as I would, and I was looking around and I wasn't hitting the curbs like I used to, and I wasn't drifting out close to the fence like I used to. And I thought, oh, hang on. Do I actually want to do this anymore? And pretty much, spoke to his family and decided, no, probably I don't. I don't, It's one of those things. If you're not, it's like Ayrton Senna sort of said. If you're not prepared to take the risks, you probably shouldn't be a sort of top level racing driver.
Didn't he design the revised layout?
I think he had a big say in it. Certainly because his company was has been involved in a few of those things. Like Townsville, I think, is one of his company's designs, and I think Canberra was that was a disaster. But I think he was involved in it. But yeah, look, as we saw at Macau, I mean, sort of any sort of street circuit with a couple of fast corners, as can be a recipe for disaster. I don't know if you saw any of Macau, but it was insane. I mean, and it's got a similar corner when you come out of the R corner, sort of before you head back onto the main straight. That's a very similar, and in fact a much faster corner than even turn 8 is, and they've had a few really big accidents there, particularly with the bikes, unfortunately. And this year, because of the weather, they cancelled the bike Grand Prix because they just said, look, it's going to be way too dangerous. We're not going to take the risk. It's just way too dangerous to run the bikes around there. And they managed to get all of the car. I think all of the car races did run. There might have been one of the local categories either got shortened or dropped, but certainly the big races they got there. And there was lots of controversy in the Macau GT race with Maro Engel. Great race. Dries Van Thor and just like nose to tail for the whole time, and the first two. The first two sort of got tangled up on sort of with 2 laps to go, but Maro was sort of accused of deliberately punting off. I think it was Van Thor, and he got a 5-second penalty, but he was so far in front at the end. I think he finished about 7 seconds in front, so he ended up winning by 2 seconds anyway. So he ended up winning, and then Yugo Chukwu, the young American guy, dominated the Grand Prix. Unfortunately, James Wharton, the Australian driver, his race finished on the first race. He put it in at Lisboa, another famously difficult and notorious corner, and he put it in on sort of the first lap of green flag running and caused a massive pile up, which brought out the red flag. But Cooper Webster, who we've seen in S5000 here in Australia and has done some GB3 races in Britain, did a really, really good job and eventually finished fifth. A couple of cars that did finish, he crossed the line seventh, but the two cars that finished in front of him were disqualified for, of all things, having non-regulatory stone guards, wire in the radiator, to keep the trash and everything out. But apparently that was for some reason they had changed that and done something, and they went, no, that's not standard. So they got disqualified for that, and that promoted Cooper up to fifth place. So I think he's a talent, Cooper Webster. I think he did very well in his couple of races in S5000. Won a very wet race at Phillip Island, and he's done very well in the wet and a number of races in England as well. So, yeah, he and James Wharton moving up to Formula 3 next year. So we'll have James Wharton in Formula 3. We'll have Christian Mansell moving into Formula 2. And, of course, we'll have Oscar Piastri and probably, fingers crossed, but, yeah, probably Jack Doohan in at Alpine.
I think we will. I don't think Alpine will make the same mistakes they've had in the past.
Yeah, I think it was Fuoco in the Ferrari and Raf Marciello who went off, touched under brakes, and it was and Mara was third at the time after punting Vanthoor off earlier. So, but it was a great race, and the interesting thing was, I mean, the conditions were pretty tough at the time. And they were still saying, really, should we, this might be a bit dangerous to run. But the point is, you've got the very best GT drivers in the world. I mean, it was the FIA World Cup. So you had all of the top, drivers from the SRO series, the WEC, DTM, all of the top drivers. And they're in GT3 cars, which do have ABS and do have traction control and great aerodynamics and all the rest of it. And apart from the cars touching each other, they had no sort of problems at all. There was a big crash with one of the Lamborghinis in I think in either the qualifying race or earlier in the weekend, but nothing in the race itself. So but the Macau Grand Prix, it's if you ever get the opportunity of going to the Macau Grand Prix, you've really got to go. It is the most bizarre meeting that I've ever been to. But it's, as I sort of said last week, it really is like sort of like a major motorsport event as run by the local primary school mothers club. It's just got that. It's very, very. Their box saying, like the work of the marshals. Yeah, the marshals are amazing at Macau. They really are. The way the recovery. I mean, when you had a look at that crash that James Wharton was in, you thought, this is going to take forever. And they had that cleared so quickly. They're really, I mean, they've got cranes everywhere, but they are very, very good. They're very efficient. The whole thing is incredibly efficient because they've got so many people. I've never seen so many officials in all my life. I was so glad to hear the whistles because basically, in terms of crowd control and people control, it's local high school kids, and they basically give them sort of a high-vis vest and a whistle, and they go into, and if someone blows a whistle, everybody goes into this blind panic, and everybody blows a whistle, and it doesn't matter. You hear an engine start up, and suddenly whistles go, and no, don't come, car come, no, car is not, no, car coming, blowing whistles and people like, no, stay, dangerous. There is no car coming. It is just, no, stay, please.
And it's interesting. When I was watching Adelaide, when they were under yellows, there was a bloke standing there waving like his hands. So I think arrows would be better situation.
Yeah, it makes sense because a lot of times, I mean, you're in that situation where the cars, even if they're under safety car, to have someone there, and you see the marshals will be going like that, sort of saying, move up. But yeah, to have someone standing there with an arrow saying, go that way around me or go that way around me, makes a lot more sense. I mean, it makes it very clear there can be no arguments from the driver saying, well, I wasn't sure exactly what he was doing and all the rest. You've got a big bloody sign there that says, stick to that side of the track. Or
and that's what they do in the pits. Their
Yeah.
teams have an arrow that says, come in now.
Come in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but yeah, the marshals are excellent. This is how efficient they are. I tell this story. I was starting to tell it last week. When we were there, it was, as it was obviously this weekend, very humid and very, very hot. And we were in the media centre and came in and absolutely soaking wet and, absolutely dead because it was like, high 30s and, humidity in the low 90s. So it was really, really vicious. And I got in there and they had these machines with fruit juice and things. So I went there and I got a thing of fruit juice and I was talking with Melissa and we were talking to another journalist, a British journalist. And anyway, I gulped one down, took another one, put it down, and then I sort of, turned around and the drink was gone. And I thought, oh, hang on, what happened to my drink? And the next thing, this girl comes up and says, oh, yeah, here's a refill. And I said, oh, that's okay. Thank you. I hadn't finished that one, but thank you anyway. Went there, took another swig, put it down there again, and started talking. And the next thing I see this hand come in to go away. No, I haven't finished it yet. No, we make fresh for you. No, I don't. I haven't finished that. I only just picked that up. I got the. No, we make fresh. It's okay. We got plenty. And they actually said something. I was looking for something to eat, and all they had in various Bain Maries in the media centre was baked beans. And the idea behind this was, because there were so many British there, baked beans, very popular. Englishmen like baked beans. And I went, well, they probably do, but probably not in 37-degree temperatures. And for a start, I'm not English. I said, oh, would you like something else? And I said, oh, is there a sandwich? Oh, yes, what sort of sandwich would you like? And I said, oh, what have you got? Oh, any sandwich. Tuna? Yeah, tuna, that would be great. I found out later they'd actually sent someone down, hopped in a taxi, went to the local hotel, got the bloody sandwich, brought it back and came there this was 45 minutes later. It's like, oh, I'm not going to eat my sandwich. Suddenly, oh, sorry for the delay. Here is the sandwich. We had to get through the traffic to go to the hotel and get it made. They really do. They really, really do go out of their way to help you out. But it's a wonderful place. Even if you get the chance, Melissa and I had the opportunity. We went one time before we actually went back to the Grand Prix. We went over and said, oh, let's go over and have a look because there is a museum there. There's a Grand Prix museum, and we were in Hong Kong, and we said, oh, let's why don't we grab the ferry and dive across to Macau and have a look at the museum? Which we did, and the museum was, it was okay. They had Ayrton Senna's winning car there. They had quite a few of the winning cars from over the years, and some of the bikes. And we said, because it's a street circuit, it's like, let's see if we can go around the track. Let's get a taxi, and we'll go around the track. So we hopped into this taxi and sort of said, do you know the track? And the guy was looking there, and suddenly we showed him the map, and he went, oh, Grand Prix. I went there, and he took off, and I swear he was taking racing lines on every corner. We were going around, we were squealing. He was living out his fantasies, his Grand Prix fantasies. We flew around. And we got to the end of it, and we said, and Melissa said, for God's sake, give this man the biggest tip you've ever given anybody in your life, because boy, did we have fun. It was, it's a great place. It's really, terrific. So next year, November, as soon as it's usually around the same time, if you can get to Macau, if you've got the money, head to Macau and have a look at it. It's a fabulous, fabulous event. Okay, so Formula One this week is back in action at Las Vegas, Viva Las Vegas. Interesting. I was looking at some of Kim Illman's stuff, and he was saying that they've learned a lot from their first effort, and things look like they're going to run a lot more smoothly this year, and perhaps not with some of the excesses that they did have last year. So it's looking like. It's going to be a really good meeting. But the other interesting thing that's come out today is McLaren have said there will be, basically they've given up and said, look, basically, Max has won the drivers' championship. There will be no team orders this weekend. So that's
I'll believe it. I'll believe it when I
so.
see it. Because there's still a teams championship at stake.
Well, that might be why there's no, because they might be sort of saying, hey, listen, if we can, if we've got an option to win this thing, and if that option happens to be Oscar, then we're going for it. We're not going to sort of, we don't sort of care we don't care that much which one of you wins now, as long as one of you wins and as long as you both finish. So it'll be interesting to see whether that's true or not. I suppose it'll be also interesting to be obviously all bets are off if something bad at some stage happened with Max. If he had a bad accident or something and broke his leg or something, you can imagine that it'd be okay, just all resources into Lando. We can still do this. If he's not going to race again for the rest of the year, we can do this. But, But anyway, so let's go. So, do you know what time it is on the weekend?
5 o'clock or 4:55 p.m. on Sunday is the race, and tomorrow 1:30 first practice, and then 5 o'clock for the second practice, and then same thing again on Sunday for 1:30 for the third practice, and then 5 o'clock qualifying on Saturday. And then the race on Sunday.
Yeah, so actually, with the strange hours that they run the interesting thing is going to be, once again, because they do run it so late, the local time and all that is what the weather's going to be like. Because once again, they're saying sort of overnight temperatures of sort of around 6 to 8 degrees. So getting temperature in the tyres, especially mid race, might be it might be a bit of a problem. So that'll be interesting. But it'd be an interesting race to go to. I think. I mean, once they sort of settle down, and I think like the first year it was all the rubberneckers and all of it. Like it was a big glamorous event, and oh my God, Formula One are in Las Vegas. I don't know what Formula One is, but I've got to go. And now it's going to be more sort of like okay, we saw that last year. The people who just went because it was an event will probably say, I saw that last year, whereas the people who are back there this year are going to go, no, I went last year, it was great, I want to go again. So
a bit like what's happened here in Melbourne and also in Adelaide. The first one or two were novelties, and now they're not so much. Like we had activations, I hate that word, but we had activations in the city. And now we don't so much because it's not so much a novelty.
Well, it was like the good old days, and a lot of this is because of because of budget and all the rest of it. But the launch for the Grand Prix every year used to be spectacular. I mean, it used to usually happen at Melbourne at the casino, Crown Casino. And it was all listen to mariachi band. I mean, there was musical acts on there. There were people swinging the Cirque du Soleil, and like fabulous food, and the bar was open, and it was hosted by an Eddie Maguire, and was the MC, and they had all the celebrities were there. It was a great day, and then slowly but surely it got smaller and smaller until one year it was sort of actually at Albert Park, and it was I think there was probably 20 of us there, and it was sandwiches and raspberry cordial, And the people who turned up couldn't care less. I think that's the last time. We were walking out and said, "Oh, okay, we'll go." There's not a lot to say. And we walked past, and Mark Webber's, leaning up against a palm tree, sort of talking to someone on the phone. No one's taking any notice of him. We just sort of stopped and went back and said, "Can we grab you for an interview?" He went, "Yeah." No one else wants to talk to me. So
Well, I think last year I remember people saying, "Oh, is the Grand Prix on?" I didn't know it was on.
Well, I suppose now that they're selling it out like it is, I mean, it's a sellout already. Interesting that also, I think we said last week that, the Le
Tickets
Mans
have
is
dropped.
already a sellout. There's more tickets.
More tickets have dropped. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is what I
that's-
said. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're. Speaking of papering the crowd and flying kites and all the rest of it, interesting story that supposedly Channel 9 and Stan are in
Oh, I hope
discussions.
not.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's I think basically it is a thing to Foxtel to sort of say, hey, we need more money. Someone else is interested now. Now, whether Foxtel are brave enough to call their bluff and say, oh no, we're not paying that much for it. I mean, if Stan's prepared to pay that much money for it, thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you later. We've still got AFL and NRL and cricket and to worry about. So off you go. Goodbye. That would be a disaster for supercars because I don't know about you, but I'm not. I didn't get Stan because Stan had IndyCar, and apparently IndyCar is coming back to Fox and to KO, which will be great. Unfortunately, they've still got WEC, but you can get that sort of fairly cheaply if you just like. And the good thing about the WEC is you only get the races that you're going to be sort of able to watch that are in a reasonable time zone because you get Spa, obviously get Le Mans, you get Monza. And perhaps if you're not doing anything, you get Japan because they're but all the South American races that are on 3 or 4 in the morning, sort of don't worry about it. And it's only about sort of $14 or $15 to. I think Le Mans this year was about $25 Australian for the 4 days, and you get it without any ads, and it's just the clean feed coming through, and yeah. Yeah, NASCAR could do some sprints during the day. That is one thing that is there this year. For the last year, they didn't have any support races. This year, they've got the Ferrari Challenge. So that's running this year, and they are talking about. They're sort of saying that they'll see how that goes and what the reaction is, and there might be at least one more support category, probably Carrera Cup US or some sort of Super Cup race, some sort of Porsche race the following year, but. Last year they just had it was just the Grand Prix and absolutely nothing else. But this year they do have the Ferrari Challenge. But yeah, NASCAR also at COTA as well, Circuit of the Americas. Interestingly enough, running the short, so they're running the same track that the Supercars ran all those years ago. So I know it was a long time ago, but it might be interesting to see sort of what the lap times are like, the comparison. I'm sure someone will do that. I'm sure supercars will do it if it turns out the supercars are still faster. So, we've got a question from David Hodges. When is Supercar going to make it automatic? If you have a crash, you have a minimum time off. I don't think that's going to happen. That's the sort of thing they do in historic racing overseas. Somebody said recently from. In terms of some footage that I think we had from either Baskerville or possibly from I think it was from Sandown actually, and someone said, over here in the US, you touch someone, you spin someone, you go home. That's it. It's like there's no. I don't think they're going to. And rubbing's right. It's interesting. Got a thing from the FIA this afternoon talking about the TCR World Tour. Next year being sort of the official, FIA, the FIA, TCR World Tour, which of course will be at the Bend next year, and the FIA was saying touring car racing is, let's face it, the attraction. Rubbing is racing. But you got to be so careful in prototypes and open wheelers. Of course, we can't have anybody banging, but touring cars. Yeah, like if you don't, I think he said, if you don't have someone else's paint on your car, you're not trying. So they're obviously pushing the thing that, yeah, I mean, for a touring car you can do a bit of rubbing, and it's not the worst thing in the world. But yeah, I don't think we'll see that. I don't think it'll be an automatic. I don't think you'll ever see an automatic sort of time.
Well, it's
Time off.
interesting. It's not really related, but it's interesting. They had the 2 drivers or 3 drivers in Adelaide out with concussion protocols, and until Adelaide last week, I didn't know that supercars were adopting concussion protocols.
Yeah, the thing is, everybody's adopting concussion protocols now. I mean, it's a big thing, of course, in cricket and football. All the codes of football. We've seen a couple of, we've seen a couple of young players their career is over because of that. Will Pekowski of the cricketer, unfortunately, he was the next big thing in terms we're talking about, who's going to open for Australia, and it was going to be, oh well, like we've got Will Pekowski. He's real, seriously good, and he was seriously good, but he just had a way of getting in the way of balls hitting his head, and every time even when he didn't get hit, I mean, just a couple of occasions he fell over when he was fielding or something, trying to catch and hit his head on the ground, and he got concussion. So eventually they just said, no, don't do this anymore, and he's only in his sort of early 20s. So the NASCAR also they have fairly strong concussion protocols now. In Formula One too, they've got the sensor in there now in the helmet or in the ear. It's in the earpiece, and it shows that if it's a strike over a certain amount of G's, it's an automatic. You come and do a concussion test. So yeah, they've got to take it very seriously because, I mean, like in the NFL in America, they are just getting sued to death over there from various footballers and their families for saying, "Hey, you didn't protect us." I mean, our career ended or something really bad happened. There was one player who had committed violent acts and eventually I think committed suicide. And of course, the professional wrestler Chris Benoit, killed himself and his whole family, and they put that down to when they eventually sort of did the autopsy on him. They said, look, his brain was mush from all the concussions that he'd had over the years. It's about the that's talking about that. Okay, yes, that's it. Yeah, I think it's probably in place already. I mean, I'm sure that there is in part of the concussion protocol is there. Mark's saying also about imagine soccer without headers. They actually have in junior soccer. I believe they have cut out headers in a lot of competitions because they've just said that's it's too, especially for kids. It's too much away. I mean, I played virtually no soccer. I had no interest in it, but we played a couple of games, sort of, at school for the hell of it, and I went up and headed a ball and nearly knocked me senseless. So it's like I'm going back to footy. It's like at least it's people running into you and knocking you out. It's not it's not actually going up and banging the head. Oh bloody hell! Yeah. But yeah, so you could get eventually. You could. I wouldn't surprise me if you do get soccer without headers. I wouldn't like to imagine it without, because quite frankly, it's as far as I'm concerned, it's boring enough as it is. So yeah. Did you see any of the MotoGP at all, Pete?
No, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw very, very little of it. I got there was lots of things happening, and saw very little of it. Doc was saying on Tuesday night it was apparently like a great race. Jorge Martin is the champion. He was sort of saying he said he was very lucky not to crash over the last few laps, because he said he was basically crying the whole way. He said, as I was trying to keep it under control, and it was, I couldn't wipe my eyes or anything, and I was having a bit of trouble focusing. So he was obviously very, very happy to
the George
pick
Russell
up that title.
I think there's rain. The George Russell, I think there's rain coming down.
Yes.
No, it's actually sweat.
Yes. So he had there it was the Solidarity Grand Prix because they moved it out of where it was originally held in Spain. I keep forgetting which one it was. I think it was in Barcelona. I think it was Valencia. They actually left because of the
Yes.
floods and all the rest of it. So they
I
so
know
it was a
that
big
much.
crowd. Yeah. So all of the
Yeah.
so all of the money apparently supposedly went there. And then of course they finished. And then as soon as they were finished, they went straight into pre-season testing for next year. So you had sort of so Jack Miller was on the Yamaha, and Johan Mir was on the Honda, and he was very unhappy. He just sort of said, "Look, if this is what I've got to put up with next year, I might as well not bother because this bike is a load of crap." So yeah, Honda not having a good run at the moment. It's amazing when you consider. It's amazing when you consider the sort of how strong they were for so many years with Mick Doohan and Wayne Gardner and all the rest of it, and then you have a look at them now, and the Japanese manufacturers in general are not in the same league as, well, certainly not as Ducati, but not even as KTM and Aprilia. So they've changed things around to encourage the European manufacturers to take part, and they've probably tipped the balance too fine in their favour. So yeah, that's a bit of a problem because it'd be a shame that we've already lost Suzuki, so it'd be a shame to lose both Honda and Yamaha as well from MotoGP. Apparently not, Dave. David's asking, is Las Vegas going to have the same problems as last year?
I don't
No,
think so.
apparently, yeah, they have very much Kim Illman in on. If you don't subscribe to Kim Illman's YouTube channel, you really should. He does a really good job. I mean, it's totally self-indulgent. I mean, it's like, well, here I am in my 6-star hotel, having flown in on my $17,000. He flew from Australia to Las Vegas. And sort of pointed out at times, well, I mean, it was I was lucky enough to fly business. If you want to do this trip yourself, it's going to cost you $17,000. And here I am drinking 20-year-old French champagne, and there's all this gold leaf toilet paper in the, it's like it's yeah, but he did when he went down. That was one of the first things he did. He's a well-known photographer. He's got access to and the first thing he did was go down and have a look at the manhole covers. And he said they have been very, very heavily covered over and welded down, and there shouldn't be a problem.
Well, they were after that Friday.
Yeah,
and there was not a problem.
Yeah, so I think they'll be right. I think they'll be right. I think they'll be right this time around. I'm sure there'll be other hassles. I mean, it is only the second race. The interesting thing is, like, a lot of the locals, he spoke to a lot of the locals who were very, very opposed to it last year, and he went back and he's spoken to a few of them who said, we were probably wrong. We didn't really know what this was all about, and because being American, we didn't realise that Formula One, just how big it was, and then we sort of had a look at there was no vacancies at all in the there, but there is vacancies this time. I mean, that's one thing Kim said. He said if you were prepared to sort of stay outside of the main strip and outside of the main area, there were still cheap hotel rooms floating around in Vegas if you wanted to go along. So
and I think part of that, I hope we don't go to the US, but a part of that is, oh wow, cars actually go around bends. They don't actually go around in a circle. They go around bends.
Yeah, they're getting better at it. They're starting to explain it. I just saw that I watched something the other day. Someone had some footage of Marcus Ambrose, some in-car footage, and it was the commentary at the time. I think it was at Watkins Glen, and they had the in-car footage, and the guys were saying, "What is he doing what's he doing with his feet?" I mean, look, he's got his foot on the pedal and the brake at the same time. And I was like, this is amazing. And it's like, well, you're kidding me, aren't you? But no, they weren't doing it, and they're still commenting about it. They were commenting about it with Shane at Chicago as well. So yeah, there we are. Dave saying a friend who lives in Las Vegas Yes, now, yes, that is true. That's one thing that Kim pointed out as well. That yes, there basically every vantage point they found last year where people, from other hotels, from balconies in other hotels, from all sorts of places, every possible vantage point where you could sort of say, oh, I can go, oh look, I can see the track down there, or I can see like that much of the track for free. They've covered everything up. Which is basically what supercars do too. It's funny to go sort of the week before
And
the Sandown 500 to go past on the train past Sandown and seeing them putting up the black plastic, like everywhere all around all the wire fences and all the rest of it. It's and they've got security guards on the bridge, so because like for the for the historic meeting just recently, there were probably as many people sitting up on the overpass over the highway watching the racing from there as they were on Red Hill or in the grandstand. So they don't let you get away with that for supercars, that's for sure. So yeah, if anybody's got any things, we might wrap it up at this point. I'll just let you know that yes, next Tuesday night and Wednesday night on Channel 31 will be our final edition of In Pit Lane from the studios of RMA TV. At least that's the plan at the moment. As I was sort of saying last week, there's 1,001 reasons. Part of it is a very big part of it is financial. That's not the only reason. The fact is that the way people watch television. Basically, nobody watches television under 50 now. I mean, if everybody, certainly, I don't know about you, Pete, but, the last time I watched, over-the-air terrestrial television, like normal, old-fashioned Channel 7, was the grand final, because it wasn't available anywhere else. It wasn't available on Foxtel or anything, so I ended up watching it on Channel 7, but I actually had to go out and buy a digital set-top box because my old television couldn't receive H.264. So, I had to go to JCar and pick up a little set-top box so I could watch the grand final. But since then, I don't think I've looked at a single second of, regular TV.
oh, I still do. Maybe that makes me dorky, but I still do.
Yeah, I think that there's just so much out. I mean, when you look at all the stuff that's on YouTube now, and I mean, the problem with YouTube now, the ads on YouTube are insane. I mean, that really annoys me. I mean, I've stopped monetizing the live stream of the show on Tuesday night because I didn't mind the fact that they were, breaking in the middle of the news or even the middle of the interview, but when they started breaking in the middle of the music, I thought,
That's
no,
ridiculous.
I said that's one step too far. So, and it drives me mad. I watched something later with
Not
Jules
even.
Holland.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
no, just
not
in the
even.
middle. Yeah.
Yeah, not even. Hey used to do that when they
No,
were
I mean
on.
that's it. The problem is, I think YouTube have got to do something. But they need some sort of thing where you can put in markers and say,
Yeah.
okay, put in an ad there, so that when I say, you're watching In Pit Lane, we'll be back in just a moment. Then we go to, we go to an online events ad, and then we've got a marker in it that says to YouTube, okay, now you play your ads. But
Yes.
you can't. They just put it in as just an automatic thing, and it goes in at certain times. The thing is, you can delay them. If we had someone dedicated sitting in the studio at the live stream, it will say there is an ad coming in 30 seconds, and you can say delay, but you can only do that once for each ad. So you can say delay, and then sort of 45 seconds later, the ad plays anyway. So, yeah, Jared said free-to-wear needs a motorsport program. Look, it's free-to-wear's needed a motorsport program for 28 years. That's why we started In Pit Lane. The problem is no one's prepared to pay for it. And when you consider, I mean, there have been attempts. I mean, we had like Stan themselves had their famous their own pit lane. They
And
actually
Channel
called
10
it Pit Lane. Yeah, Channel
and
10
Channel
had
10
two. Yeah,
RPM,
yeah,
and
They had
that's
two
five.
goes.
Yeah,
They had two
yeah.
goes at that. They had two goes at RPM, and that failed.
And they even put
Yeah,
music on. in the end.
They did, yeah. In the end, too, it was like, I'll never. It's like, and we've got something totally. Here's something completely different that no one's ever done before. We're going to have live music. And it's like, oh, you're kidding me. And by the way, it definitely wasn't a coincidence. Someone said, I'm sure it's just a coincidence. They wouldn't look at your program. No, they were looking at our program because I spoke to the person at Channel 10 who was tasked with taping the program or recording the program and sending the feed up to Sydney so they could have a look at what we were doing.
And I heard, I don't know if I can say that. Can I say it? I heard a rumour that Greg Russ spoke to one of our crew, and when they were getting axed, and he said, "Oh, you so and so's."
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it was at I think it was at the motor show. It was Stewart who went up with him and said something about. And he, I don't know what Greg said to Stewart, but Stewart said something about something along the lines of, if you need a gig, you can come down and work on. And he said, "Oh, who are you?" And he said, "Oh, in pit lane. Oh, it's you. Oh, right, it's you lot," sort of thing. So, yeah. So remember one episode ending live music. Remember we had our first music act was in the second series. It was a program with Rochelle Splatt, the drag racer, and that was when we were still on Optus Vision. So that was in the second half of 1996. And we didn't have music every week, but we had it quite regularly, at least 3 or 4 times there. And then, of course, when we got to the new studio, the fabulous new studio, it was like, we can't waste this with just sort of, just us talking about cars. We've got this massive 4K studio with 6 cameras, in fact 8 cameras when you take into account the ones in the roof for the PTZ cameras. We can't waste. Yeah, so we can't waste. We can't waste that. So so we did that. We're hoping. I'll just let people know that we are hoping to do something on Channel 31, but unfortunately it won't be in pit lane. It won't be a motorsport show. It'll probably be sort of more dedicated music and all the rest of it. Because to be honest with you, I mean, we're getting far more support from the local music industry than we've ever had from local motorsport. I mean, even at the moment, our GoFundMe for to help out with the bit of an extra treat for the crew for the end of year party, we've had a really great response. Thank you to everybody who's donated. But it's interesting that of the people who have donated, there's really only about 1 or 2 that have got any connection with motorsport at all. The rest of them are sort of friends of mine, ex-crew members, and mostly bands. People saying, "Hey, thanks. We really appreciate what you've done for the local live music scene. Have a drink on us." But we're hoping to do something. But the show itself, like I said, the show itself is not going to be, but in pit lane will continue. This show in a form will continue. The live stuff, we will still be going out and doing stories at racetracks, and we'll be able to do more of that stuff because we won't have the distraction and the cost of having to do a weekly television show. And that's the thing. We don't have time to sort of to do. To edit things properly, or to say, "Hey, listen, I'm going up. Let's go up and do a story from one raceway," because we don't have time to. I had the opportunity to go to the Bend for the drag racing a couple of weeks ago, and I had to say no because I couldn't get home in time to get the show ready for Tuesday night. So I just had to say no. Look, we'd love to come and do a story, but no, I need to be home Sunday night before midnight and get things started. So. Yeah, we'll see that, but there are some other things. I won't say too much about some of the discussions that we're having, but don't worry. Sort of, in pit lane after 28 years, we're not just walking away from it and killing the brand. Me, Doc, Pete, Richard, all the hardcore motorsport tragics that are behind the program. We'll still be doing something one way or other on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel, and hopefully the website as well. We'll hopefully get that back up and. We'll get that tidied up and get that into a form where we can do some more stuff there, because that's another thing. We just haven't had time to do anything apart from get a weekly show together.
And I'm certainly not walking.
No, that's it. Pete's not walking at all. I'm not walking far. Doc's walking too much. We've just walking is the big problem. Okay, everybody, thanks for joining us again. Really appreciate it. We will catch you there. Thanks, Mark, as well. Thanks. Hopefully, we'll see you next. We'll see you next week. We've still got another, even though the show's finishing, basically until the Formula One season. We'll be going through until sort of after the last Formula One round, because we've still got things to talk about, and I'm sure there'll be all sorts of other motorsport stuff. We'll be down at the Geelong Revival on Saturday, and hopefully we'll be doing a live stream at one of our pit walks sometime around. I'm not looking forward to this. The forecast for Saturday is 37 degrees, I believe. So yeah, that'll be fun. Roy's saying that Roy's offering you to take you along if you want. Roy, I think you've got enough to carry, sort of thing, without sort of helping. He's very well organised, Roy, with all of his stuff, with his rolling cases and all the rest of it. But sort of helping get a wheelchair around sort of the wilds of Phillip Island might be a bit it might be a bit of an ask. But there, yes. Thank you. That's I'm not sure how dynamic we are, but thanks, Box. We really appreciate it. Hey, we'll see everybody Tuesday night live on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel for the final show from the studios of RMI TV. Wednesday night at 9 o'clock on Channel 31. Sort of the end of. But as I said, it's the end of an era. It's the end of a chapter. It's not there, but a new one is about to start. Hopefully for next year. We've just got to find a way of sort of finding the funds to make it happen, but we'll work on that. And come hell or high water, we're not just I'm not good at retiring. Let's face it. So yeah, we'll see you next week, everybody. Until then, bye for now.
See you.